Okay, this is Mr. Deckard here, and I would like to run you through a quick tutorial on how to use the new Photoshop, which is included in Adobe CC 2020. This has just been released, I believe, in September, so this is brand new. And I'm a long-time Photoshop user, been using it since 1990, and there are changes to this program that I really don't know. I've not had enough time to actually get in here and dig, but we have this installed now on both of our labs at BMS and OMS, and there's no better way to learn Photoshop than to use Photoshop. So we have some projects that are being handed to us on the regular now. This is a current one for Team Artemis, which is the south end of the BMS building on the 7th grade floor. They wanted reward cards for their students, and they wanted it based on the Artemis from NASA, the Team Artemis Mars exploration, I believe is what it is. And they said use the graphic. Now, when you begin a project like this, you want to think about what your output is going to be, and that is, how is it going to be served to your customer? In this case, we're going to be dealing with small tickets, and they're going to want multiple tickets printed off of a sheet of paper. That's the cost-effective way to do that. Plus, tickets are small anyway. You don't hand a sheet of paper to people and have them turn it into a bucket, which is what they're going to do with this result, the kids, that is, that win these awards. So we want to be mindful of that. And I took a measurement of a standard ticket, and it turns out that they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 3/8 by 1 7/8 in dimension. That is 3 3/8 inches wide and 1 7/8 inches tall. And I also want to pay attention to what the printer will likely be that they will use. Now, if you're going to be cost effective, you're going to stay in a single color of ink. And so in this particular case, I decided, well, you know, since it's space, we could go with black, and I will filter up the back a little bit to try to get a star field effect. We'll see what we can do, and I could tweak that some more. But essentially, this just needs to have the logo. It needs to have some kind of a phrasing, and it has to have a place for students to place their name. Now, you can see there's a flaw, a fatal flaw with this particular ticket, and that is that, and I didn't think of this when I designed it, that is that students, if they wrote their name on that white line in graphite, which is pencil, or with dark ink and a pen, it's not going to be visible in the ink. So I'm going to have to make a modification of this. But first things first, and I may make another video later on down the line about the simple layout of Photoshop. But for this video, I'm just going to assume that you're somewhat familiar with Photoshop and that you can get around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and New, or I could hit Control-N. And I'm going to set my dimensions in inches. I'm going to start right off. Now 3 3/8, an eighth of an inch is around, it's a little over 12%, 12.5%. So I'm just going to rough this out. This is going to be close enough. And if I'm a little bit undersized, it's okay, because I need to leave room for cutting in between anyway. So I'm going to say 3.36 is going to be my width. And I'll just type it right in, 3.36. And I'll make it 1.88 tall, 1.88. Now, when you're doing print, you want to run higher resolution. You don't want to do 72 dpi, which is what you use for anything that you would output to a monitor, because that's the highest output a monitor can do anyway. So I'm going to do 300 dpi, which is a minimum print layout. And this is going to be landscape in format. I'm going to create it, and boom, we've got our blank here. Now, I need to find a graphic for this. So I go out to the web and I searched for Artemis, and I looked around for something that had been stripped of color, because ordinarily this is going to have like a gradient color fill on it, which we can't use for this purpose. It's a pretty graphic. If we knew that our customers could print in color, it'd be one thing, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to do that. So now that I find this and get the graphic on the screen, and again, there's a little bit more to it than that, but I need to keep this video short, so I'm going to right click on the image, copy it, go back to Photoshop, hit File and New. Now you might think, well, why didn't you just paste it into that project? You don't really want to do that. I'm going to create whatever it says, hit Control V, and there's the graphic as it comes from the web. First thing I'm going to do is use my crop tool, which is the 5th tool down. I'm going to bring this in a little bit. this just gets the size down. It's one of the reasons why you don't want to just dump it into the other project. I'm going to hit enter, which will crop it. Go back to my move tool, or you can hit V or just select it. And I'm going to actually undock the image and pull it off. Oh, and before, actually I'm just going to keep it as this. I'm going to keep this pretty simple. I could delete this background and just pull the white over. It could be confusing to look at. So I'm just going to keep this simple. And you notice it's really big. It's okay, we're going to fix that. I'm going to redock by grabbing a hold of my label here on the top, left clicking and holding and pulling up until I see the blue up on the top. Then I'm going to go back to my tab here. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. File, save as. Can hit Control-Shift-S. I'm going to go ahead and save it to the cloud. That way it's going to be available wherever I work on my stuff. So I'm going to call this New Artemis Ticket. Alright, and that way it's named right up here. And I know what I'm dealing with now. Alright, so back to this item right here. You notice that I have two layers now over here. I have a background layer and a layer 1. I'm going to rename layer 1 Logo, so I know what that is. Then I'm going to hit this area right up here where it says Show Transform Controls, and you notice I get anchor points now. And if I pull down like so, I'm going to size this up so it's roughly like that. Now notice my guideline here. I'm going to pull this out about right here. I want to give myself a buffer. See, it's roughly equal around here. Once I've got it sized like I want, I'll hit my move tool again. That will lock it in place and undo my transform tool. Next thing I want to do is I want to get this on a black background. And I want it, you might say, well, just fill it with black. You've got black right there. Yeah, I do, but it may not be the same black from the graphic because not all blacks are the same. The hexadecimal code for black is 000000, or 6 zeros. But watch what happens when I take my sample tool and click here. It's not black. It's 020202. And if you make the mistake of just going ahead and filling this background image with that color, you'll notice the box. And you really don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the background layer. I'm going to hit my lock and unlock it. That will allow me to go up to Edit, Fill with foreground color. Now sometimes this defaults to content aware. You don't want that. You need it to be in foreground color. Hit OK, and it all looks like it goes together. Now if I decide I want to filter this later, and I may or may not depending upon the length of the video here, yeah, then I'll just go ahead and do that. I'll show you how you can do that. So I'm going to go to the 1, 2, 3, 4th tool down. I may have to left click and hold because it will default to Object Selection Tool. I want Magic Wand. And all I have to do is, I have to select this layer first. Control D, sorry. Control D deselects, by the way. I select my logo layer, and I'm going to lock my bottom layer so I don't make that mistake again. So I'm selecting this layer, and you notice that it is selecting the box that had previously been the black. And if you don't know, that's what I'm talking about right there. Now when I hit delete, it looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. And it doesn't really matter that much if I hit this part, but I'm going to show off and do it. After I've done all that, I hit Control D to deselect. I can turn my bottom layer back on, and it doesn't look like anything happened. Now the advantage to doing that is, now if I decide to filter the background for some reason, then I'll be able to do so, and it will show all over. Allow me to demonstrate. I'm now going to unlock the bottom layer again. I've got this set to, let's make it black and white. By the way, white is FFFFFF. 6 Fs. So I've got that set for black and white. And I'm going to go up to Filter Gallery. And I'm going to use this filter, and that filter happens to be Smudge Stick. I think that's, I'm just maxing that out. No, I'm going to, that looked pretty good back about there. I'm going to go with that. Hit OK. And that kind of looks like Starfield, doesn't it? Now, if I had not deleted the box that had surrounded Artemis before the logo, well, I'd have a problem here, wouldn't I? I wouldn't be able to see anything here but the straight black. So I'm going to lock the bottom layer and select logo layer again. And now what I need to do is I need to pop out to the web, and I need to find my NASA font. I had it on this machine before, but I had to re-image it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to find the NASA font. And here it is. So I'm going to download it. Now this is what you have to do on this site, and all the sites are different. But basically you can download free fonts. If it's a Google font, I mean, it'll just install right on your machine. Now I can click here to download it. Gonna open it and hit install. Now it says it's already there, so apparently I've already done this. So I'm gonna hit no, but that's how you would get the font. All right. So now that we have the font, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna select my text tool, and I'm gonna just type in NASA. And it gives me my option here, NASA Medium. And what shall I type? How about we type thank you notice it's in black. I'm going to change that to white. Hit OK. I'm going to have it center, and then I'm going to select my characters panel, and I'm going to raise the font up a bit, and I'm going to reduce the amount of kerning to it. Kerning is the distance between characters. I can manually set that. I like that. Good spacing right there. Thank you. That looks good. I'm going to lock that layer for now. Create a new text layer. This one I'm going to type for enter stellar performance exclamation. Now this one I'm going to have to get a little bit tricky with. So I've selected it all. I'm going to have to run it down size-wise. It's too big. I'm going to have to run the distance down between characters. Still going to have to run it down some more. Looking a lot better. And I think I'm going to do one more tricky thing. I'm going to upsize that word. Yeah, I like it. Let's see how that looks. Alright, now you notice that our distance between these letters and these letters is a little bit off. I'm going to double click my T here to select again. And I'm going to select through those two words, but ignore the top one. And I'm going to reduce their distance. Oop. Alright. Then I'm just going to select 4, and I'm going to increase the distance. Click off. Look at that. A little tricky, wasn't it? A little tricky. Alright, so I'm going to use the guides there to line up the bottom and the side. I like how that's laying out. I'm going to lock this. We're almost done. We're actually almost done here. This is moving along pretty quickly. I'm going to flip white to the top. I'm going to create a box. And this is so the kids can write their name. Need that box to end about right there. And I may slide everything over here in a bit. There we go. It fills right up. Here we go. All right. I'm going to lock that for now. Then I'm going to create a new layer, and I need to do one more thing. I'm going to create a stroke. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up like so. And I'm looking for my guides. There's the one guide. There we go. That's what I wanted. I was waiting for my purple guides to land. Edit, stroke. I'm going to put it on 5 pixels. Boom. Control D. And look at that. Now, this is not perfect. I don't like that this is not in alignment vertically over the text. So I'm going to rename this layer stroke, white stroke, so I know what it is. Lock it. I'm going to come down to thank you for stellar performance. I'm going to hold my shift and select both, and I'm going to edge them left a little bit. See what I'm doing at the same time? Now I'm liking how that lines up better at this point in time. Alright. And actually, I think at that, we could lock it all down. Rule of thumb, by the way, with Photoshop is if you're not using it, lock it. Because you'll accidentally grab things and move things that you don't want to. And with this, we pretty much have a ticket made. Now this video probably went somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, I'm guessing. If you know what you're doing, this does not take any time. I can usually, even if I don't know precisely what I'm going to do and I have to go out and hunt for my pieces, 20 minutes max. I mean, this just isn't tough to do. So this is the kind of stuff we can knock out for customers super, super quick. We can put this out there. They may like it, they may not. They may ask for adjustments. Don't take it personally. Because people aren't going to love everything you do, you know. Even if you do, they don't always love because they have in mind what they want. They may not be able to communicate that to you, but they have in mind what they want. When they do communicate clearly with you, the stuff is easy to make. So I'm going to leave it at that. So I want to thank you for watching. This is Mr. Deckard, and I am signing out.